Coming straight from the land of the long white cloud, north, east, south, western bounds. Raise up, we're ring the crowds. We are now. Coming straight from the land of the long white cloud, north, east, south, western bounds. Raise up, we're ring the crowds. We are now.
Hello, welcome to Real Talk with Razor. My name is Chelsea. I am the Youth Empowerment Supervisor for the YMCA. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode 5. We are with Megan from Family Planning.
Hi everyone.
Kia ora Megan, kia ora everyone. I'm Roy and I am the Youth Development Coordinator for our Tamaki and Manukau groups with Razor. So just to give you a bit of background on this series, Real Talk is a platform for young people to discuss and one-on-one interviews with other organisations and people in our communities about social topics or anything that's relevant to young people. Unfortunately, our normal young people weren't able to be with us tonight, but lucky for you, you get us.
So welcome again, Megan. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're excited to learn a little bit more about family planning and what you kind of get up to. So for our audience and those who don't know much about family planning, would you be able to give us a little bit of insight of what your role is specifically?
Sure. So Family Planning is a New Zealand-wide organisation. We have clinics in a lot of our main centres and we provide sexual and reproductive health conversations, support for people of all ages. My role in particular is as a health promoter. So I move around community spaces and talk to people about contraception, STIs, healthy relationships, and how to navigate those conversations and topics.
Awesome. It's definitely important information to have.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the deep stuff, we want to kick off with some fun questions.
Exciting.
Megan, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Sweet. Well, the first one is just, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Dargaville, which is kind of 3 hours north of Auckland. Not many people know where it is, and that is totally fine.
I was going to say, is that north or south?
Yeah, honestly, it's north, but not many people even know, especially in Auckland, where it is.
Cool. Would you rather cuddle a baby panda or a baby penguin?
I'm going to say a baby panda as long as it is a little red panda because I think they're the cutest things in the world. So cute.
Why would you want to hug a baby penguin, right? It would be wet.
Yeah, and they'll be cold. Cold and then so little, so like crouching. Oh, no, it's hard. Too hard.
What's the weirdest food combo you've ever had?
That's a hard one because I eat almost anything. So a weird food combo for me is just like, I'll still probably try it. It all ends up in the same place anyway. For me, anything with Brussels sprouts, like I'm not a fan. So anything it mixes with, the flavour combo is just not.
It's not a good
one. Have you tried them? Have you tried
Don't.
them?
No, I haven't.
They don't taste like cabbages?
Yeah, but no, it's weird, and I wouldn't recommend it. It's undercooked cabbages. It's just not. It's not a thing that should.
Noted.
If you had to remove one thing from your morning routine, what would you remove?
Ooh, does getting up count?
It does. Yep.
Well, if I could not get up, that would be great. I don't know that's super realistic, but if I could, maybe get rid of my drive. The drive's pretty long.
Oh yes, yeah.
Oh, so depending on the day, normally it is just from up the road, which is great. But if sometimes it's from Papakura, that's really long. And then sometimes I put the gym in there, which makes it even longer. Actually, maybe the gym, I better remove that.
Yeah, just skip the gym.
Yeah.
Not necessary.
Cool. What's a nickname your parents used to call you?
My family, and actually even now, still call me Mouse, as in like a little, like a little rodent.
Oh, when you say it like that. Describe yourself as a teenager in 3 words.
Shy, quiet, probably a little weird, pretty weird.
It's all right, we're all a little weird. And
Those are the
speaks
best
for life,
people.
right? At what age do you want to retire?
Oh, I would like to when I'm maybe like mid-50s, so I still have some fun years left.
Nice.
I don't want to like work into when I physically can't move anymore.
Yeah,
So fun.
I'm on board with that. What's the last song you downloaded?
I don't think I download a lot of playlists, but individual songs I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what the last song I downloaded was.
That's all right.
Well, what last playlist did you download?
I've been listening to a playlist that is called No Watermelons, All Vibes, and it is glorious. And it's just a bunch of like happy dancing music, so that's quite fun.
That is cool. I like the name of it.
Heard it here first, guys. No water, all vibes.
Awesome. Well, we're going to start off into some of the good stuff, the good questions, the hard stuff. And if we could just start off with, what is family planning? What do you guys do? What's the purpose?
So the purpose of family planning is to provide sexual health information and services to people whilst also removing the barriers of accessing this service. So we try and find ways that we can pull down those barriers that stop people from getting in. So that might be us taking the information to them in the form of health promotion, or we hold pop-up clinics in rural areas that can't get to our normal clinics. We have affordable pricing for appointments, access to any type of testing or contraception that a person might need.
Cool. And so you have to make an appointment, or can you just like walk in?
Well, you can just walk in. We do have our drop-in clinics, which each clinic has a different time, but sometimes they can fill up real quick. So if you come halfway through the drop-in clinic, you might be waiting for an hour and a half to be seen. Where if you come in beforehand, you might be seen relatively quickly. Otherwise, you can call up our contact center, you can call up our clinics and make appointments. You can sometimes walk in depending on what your need is.
Yeah. Is there any cost to it?
The costs are dependent on the person's age and their access to like community services card. Under 22 is free. Over 22 with a community services card is $5. Over 22 without is $35. So still pretty affordable.
So what's their ideal age, like that people can come by themselves, or when can they start coming?
So anyone who is having, I wouldn't say who is sexually active, but anyone who is wanting contraception, maybe the pill, can come to family planning. They don't need to bring their parents with them. So if they are under 16 and wanting to go on the pill, you don't need to bring your parents with you. If you don't want your parents to find out, then we won't tell them. The information doesn't get passed on to your GP unless you ask. If there are concerns around the safety of the person, though, then information will be passed on.
Yeah, cool. So otherwise, everything between you and whoever you see is confidential?
Yeah, so the only time that one of our nurses or doctors will break confidentiality is if they feel like the person is being hurting someone else or hurting themselves. So if no harm is being done, they're safe, they're not being coerced into anything, everyone is consenting, then it's all confidential.
Cool, that's awesome to know.
So do you just see nurses, or do you get to see a doctor? Like, who are the staff that?
So we have nurses and doctors on site, depending on your need and what you want done, and maybe even availability. You will see a nurse or a doctor. So if you come in and ask for an STI check, to go or to talk to someone about contraception, then you'll probably see a nurse. They can do that really easily. If you're feeling like you're having some type of problem, something is uncomfortable, perhaps maybe you're having really long periods and you just don't know why, then you might see a doctor who can kind of diagnose and be a bit more hands-on to work out what's going on for you.
Cool. And just off when is it a good time for people to get STI checks? Is that a necessity, like for young people out there who are becoming sexually active? Is that something important that they should be doing?
Yeah. So STI checks should be done between every sexual partner. I always like to think of it as it is way easier that if you are tested positive for anything, to call one person than it is to go back through your sexual history and like your little black book or your phone of all of the contacts of people you've slept with and then tell all of them. It can be a really uncomfortable conversation. It can be really awkward for the person who's telling, as well as some people can be quite upset, quite angry. It's far easier to do it once than have to do it 20 times. So if after every sexual relationship, if you feel like you have symptoms, so if it's painful to pee, if it's itchy, if you're having any discharge that's a bit weird, maybe a weird smell, if the condom breaks, and even just as part of like your normal routine, like health check every year, it's so for if you have no symptoms, you can actually do the test by yourself. You don't have to have an appointment. You don't have to have anyone actually get down into your genital area, which can make people uncomfortable. So if you are a person with a penis, all you do is pee in a cup. If you're a person with a vagina, it is just a vaginal swab. You don't have to make an appointment. You don't have to wait however long for that appointment. You can just walk in, tell the receptionist that's what you want, fill in a little form, and then just go into the bathroom and do that. Super easy.
That is really good to know.
Super easy.
Yeah.
So easy.
What kind of things do you guys as family planning give advice on?
So we can give advice on things like different types of contraception, what might work best. We can give advice on any type of reproductive issues. So the doctors might talk to people about things like endometriosis and PCOS. We can give advice on different types of options around pregnancy, whether it is keeping a child, if it is adoptions, if it is terminations. We can give advice around that as well.
Cool.
And make referrals on to those places.
Yeah. Just touching on pregnancy real quick. Can you get pregnant from your first time having sex?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you can, yes. It's the same as STIs, is that they don't discriminate. It doesn't have to be the 20th time you've had sex or your 20th sexual partner. It can be the first time. It can be the 20th time. It might not happen if you're really lucky, or it might happen every time if you're really unlucky. So, yeah, it can definitely happen the first time you have sex.
That's good to know.
Yeah. How would you recommend, so for parents, how would you recommend them starting these conversations with their young people?
That's the thing that we talk about a lot here, actually, is that it's really hard for parents. It's really awkward, and they don't want to think about the young person being sexually active. They don't want to make the connection between their sex lives and their kids' sex lives. Can be just weird. But I think it is a really important conversation to have from quite a young age, talking about things like body parts, using the correct terminology for different types of body parts so that people know what it is that they're talking about. And then that way, if you start the conversation young, when a person does maybe start having their first relationship or start showing signs of becoming more sexually active, then it's easier to have that conversation then. If you have kind of swept the conversation under the rug for the first 10, 15 years and then try and have it out of the blue, it's probably going to be met with a lot of resistance, and it probably is not going to be too effective.
That's really good advice. Progressively.
Yeah, don't spring it out of anywhere on people. That doesn't work.
No one wants that. Oh, cool. So, is there anything that you've learned through working in family planning that you wish you knew as a teenager?
I think I wish that I knew more about what healthy relationships look like and the rights that you have in relationships. I think when I was younger, I was really naive. I was very, very naive to what relationships looked like, and I had assumptions of what my behavior should be, and that I shouldn't expect anything of people. And now I look at my job and think of healthy relationships, and I should be like, man, that wasn't right. I shouldn't have been bending over backwards to change myself to fit other people, because that's not what a healthy relationship looks like. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. This job kind of opens your eyes to lots of different things.
Okay, for sure.
Mm.
That's the last bit of the questions, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is just us signing off and whatever. But is there anything else that you wanted to discuss?
I think for young people in particular, keeping a check on what your relationships is like is really important. It's really easy to get overwhelmed and excited and start, I guess, overlooking things. There are some really key important things in relationships, even though relationships will look different for each couple, and we write our own relationships. I think it's really important just to remember things like communication, talking to each other, listening to each other, but also making sure that everything is consensual. So asking if any type of sexual activity is okay. If the sexual activity changes, you've got to check in with each other to make sure everyone is safe and respected.
Yeah, definitely.
Just off that, I've had young people ask me before just whether or not, how do you know you're ready to take that? Do you have any thoughts around that? Like, how would you answer that question?
I think like knowing when you're ready to have sex with someone is different for each couple. It's when you feel safe, it's when you feel heard, it's when you know that if I say actually that doesn't feel good or I don't like that, I know the person is going to respond positively. I can trust them. It's when you feel like, I think feeling like you trust them and that you know that you're going to be respected, whether you change your mind midway or whether you are perfectly happy with everything that happens, you know that you have that option.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No problem.
You are coming in and chatting to us about some of these topics. Some of these questions are questions that we sometimes get put on the spot with and not know the answer to. So it's really educational for us too. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's all from me. Thank you so much for joining us. No doubt, we'll be in contact again. And if anyone does have any questions or anyone out there is interested in learning a little bit more information, whereabouts could they go to get their own information?
So the Family Planning website has a bunch of useful information about contraception, STIs, healthy relationships, and for parents as well. There's some information there on how to have these conversations. If you're wanting some information in other kind of formats, the Real Sex Talk videos on YouTube are amazing. They've got a bunch of different content, all by New Zealand actors, so it's a bit more relevant, or feels a bit more relevant to us. You can check out the Instagram and Facebook. We're always putting more information up there as well. Yeah, so it's about most of our places.
Thanks heaps for joining us today, Megan. No doubt Chelsea and I have both learned something as well. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us.
No problem at all. Anytime.
But other than that, take care and be kind.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Coming straight from the land of the long white cloud, north, east, south, western bounds. Raise up, we're ring the crowds, we are now. Coming straight from the land of the long white cloud, north, east, south, western bounds. Raise up, we're ring the crowds, we are now.